I wanted to add a few more stories for the week before I guess I'm going to go out of town if I can rent a car. Looks like one-time Manson follower Leslie Van Houten will be released from prison after over 50 years of being incarcerated. And she was one that took part in the LaBianca killings, especially. And she's 73 years old. And so the parole board had approved her parole the last couple of times she was up for it, and Newsom had denied it because it's not politically popular, but it was appealed to the California Appellate Court, and they decided to release her from prison. And so Newsom's not going to challenge that. Anyway, so that was that. And then, and I'm sure it'll make a lot of people mad, but that's the court has spoken. And then Wolf was really, has been at, speaking of California, they've talked about another stinking anti-woman measure that, of course, our friend Scott Wiener co-sponsors. And they mention a new bill currently in the California State Senate would make it easier for individuals to use a woman for surrogacy by forcing health care plans to offer coverage for surrogacy as infertility treatment. Well, gay men are not infertile. They just, because they're gay, obviously it's not possible to have a pregnancy. But that's just bullshit. The bill also expands the definition of infertility. But the fact of the matter is, this should be totally defeated because this is exploitation of women for money. It is reproductive prostitution. Not only this, it should be banned internationally as a human rights violation. Nobody is owed a child. Nobody has a right to use a woman's body for either sexual access or of all types, or of reproduction. So anyway, that bill is SB 729, and it will probably pass the legislature and probably get Governor Newsom's approval. Anyway, and he's being touted as a future presidential prospect sometime down the road. I don't think it's going to happen. And then everybody's been up in arms over the Center for Disease Control. But I'm going to tell you something. If you've got a right-wing media, and if you're sitting here talking about this shit, you need to provide a direct link to the actual document. I had to look like hell to find it. And it's about emergency preparation is what this is. But they use a lot of queer theory lingo. And a lot of people in the medical community are very upset about it. And anyway, this is kind of old. This has been around for about a year. But they talk about, remember that, because they're talking about what's going to happen. So, you know, breastfeeding's one thing you can do, and so on and so forth. But of course, the CDC, and I'm sure under pressure from the likes of what's-his-face, Levine, and his ilk, they've got to make it inclusive. But never mind, this is insanity here. Transgender and non-binary gendered individuals may give birth and breastfeed or feed at the chest. Chest feed. There's no such thing as chest feeding. Okay, there's the chest, which is further up, right below the neck, and there's the breast, which we all know what that's for. And you cannot feed from the chest. That's the first thing. And second of all, men can't breastfeed. No matter what they fill their bodies with, what kind of stinking drugs that may well harm the kids. There's no such thing as a man breastfeeding. I don't care how big his tits are, okay? Whether they're real or they're implants. They could have tits like the late actor Victor Mature, and it wouldn't matter. They still can't. They still can't breastfeed. Okay. And in case people want to know why I refer to Victor Mature, one of his most famous movies was Samson and Delilah, co-starring Hedy Lamarr, and that was Cecil B. DeMille directed, and it was made in 1949. But Groucho Marx was asked why he didn't see the movie. He said he never went to movies where the man's tits were bigger than the woman's. Okay, that's why I threw Victor Mature in there. But otherwise, no relevance. But anyway, so this is what it is. An individual does not need to have given birth to breastfeed or chest feed. Oh my God, there's no such thing as chest feeding. So anyway, it's in this little handout. And they're trying to be inclusive here. And I think this is what they were upset about. CDC gives guidance for trans people chest feeding kids accused of possibly failing to consider possible health risks. And you know, just instead of just giving your spin on it, you need to directly go to the source. And that's what this is about health preparedness. It's the only reason that men would want to breastfeed is that they're perverts. Okay? Only a pervert would even do this. And because men can't lactate. They can't do any of that, no matter what kind of crap they're given. And so anyway, they say here in sections of the major health institute's guidance on breastfeeding, it contained information for those who have had much of their breasts removed in gender reassignment surgeries, or for biological men taking hormones to grow breasts, or how to feed their newborn children. However, these guidelines, how long ago was this? This was like a year ago, those guidelines. It says 2022. And they're just upset about it now. However, several doctors criticize the guidance not simply because CDC has appeared to guide biological men in how to breastfeed children, but because they claim the CDC has failed to gauge the risks posed to children drinking milk produced by chemicals used in these butchery medical operations. And see, this is the thing that they're not talking about. I mean, they don't even provide a direct link to this. That's what angers me. In the CDC's website section on health equity considerations, found under this infant and young child feeding toolkit, let me tell you, that was like looking for a needle in a haystack, what the hell they were talking about. The center declared that transgender and non-binary gendered individuals may give birth and breastfeed or feed at the chest. No, they can't. Also stated, the gender identity or expression of transgendered individuals, chest feed is for so-called trans men, I guess. I don't know what that is, but still breastfeeding. The gender identity or expression of transgender individuals is different from their sex at birth, and the gender identity of non-binary, there's no such thing as non-binary gender individuals that do not fit neatly into either man or woman. This is bullshit. You're either male or female, and an adult human male or an adult human female, that's man or woman. There's no such thing as non-binary. You're not an it. There's just no such thing. Under the CDC's website section on breastfeeding, specifically an entry covering breastfeeding for those who have undergone breast surgery, the Institute mentions chest feeding. The CDC posed the question, can transgender parents who have had breast surgery breastfeed or chest feed their infants? It responded yes, followed by an explanation. So they've been captured by the queer theory crowd. Okay, that I'm just saying here is about public health preparedness, and they mention this queer theory lingo. But this crap, I don't know where the hell they've been, where the media have been, because this is last updated June 6, 2022. Over a year ago. So anyway, that's what all that is, I guess. But, you know, they try to just say what it is. And link directly to where it is. So the rest of us can figure out what in the hell you're talking about. And the Post added, these transgender parents may need help with maximizing milk production, supplementing with pasteurized donor human milk or formula, medication to induce lactation, or avoiding medications that inhibit lactation, suppressing lactation, and da-da-da-da. For those choosing not to breastfeed or chest feed, finding an appropriate lactation management support, peer support, or emotional support. According to the Daily Mail, this advice may apply to biological men who can produce their own breast milk by taking hormone drugs, which mimic the changes that can happen. None of that is possible. Okay, that's just, those are kinksters that get off sexually because they have a breastfeeding fetish. So, anyway, it's nice that they investigated, the Daily Mail investigated, but by God, you know, where were they a year ago when this crap came out? And if you're going to talk about it, and Fox News has the money, link directly to the source. So anyway, yeah, so queer theory has come to the Centers for Disease Control, and there's an uproar over the lingo, which they need to purge themselves of. And anyway, that is it for tonight.